7 o'clock, we'll go ahead and call this regular board meeting for USD 431 to order. Roll call, everyone's here except Sarah. Adoption of the agenda, any changes? Nope. I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor? Passes 6-0. Public comments, do we have any?
Didn't have any unless you guys are wanting to
have a
speak
speech
tonight.
ready or anything?
They're like, oh.
They're all like,
I look at worry on their face.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, item 5, consent agenda. You have the minutes of the January 5th meeting, cash summary report, check summary, activities account summary. Anybody have any questions on those? Everybody have a chance to review them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 6-0. All right, we'll move on to item 6, old business. We don't have any of that. So we will move on to item 7, new business, election of board officers. So tonight we have president and vice president that we will be electing. I would like to step down, so I will nominate Jesse Bays for board president. Any other nominations? Okay, do I have to cease nominations?
Yes, Madam President, I move nomination cease.
Thank
That
you.
helps you out.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I just got out of a board meeting.
That's okay.
They made me
We've
a
done it in the past, but
parliamentarian.
then we kind of talked about it.
We appreciate it, Julie.
Yeah, take
Okay.
Just nominate in second if you don't have any other nominations.
Okay. It's been moved and, or I move to nominate Jessica Bays for board president.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor. Passes.
I could vote for myself.
All right. Are you ready or you want me to go ahead and do vice?
You do. The vice. You can do the rest of the meeting for all I care.
Well, I can do that. You can do
Fine.
that.
Don't say you won't be
Okay.
installed
Okay.
until the
Can
next
I do
meeting,
that?
right?
You can.
To be installed at next meeting? Okay.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, Vice President was Sarah. She had a conversation with me and she no longer wants to serve as the Vice President.
I will nominate Tracy. Do you want me to do the Roberts rule thing? Okay, I move nomination cease and we cast a unanimous ballot.
Okay. Works for me. All in favor? Passes 5-0. Okay. Item B, 2026-27 board meeting dates.
Those should be on there for you to be able to reference, but they are the first Monday of the month except for September because of Labor Day and January. So we can have the second Monday of the month so we can do all of those things that we have to wait till the second Monday in January to do statutorily. So other than that, they're the first Monday of the month at 7 p.m.
I move to approve the board meeting dates for the 2026-2027 school year.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 6-0. All right, item C, Emmanuel Lutheran Church parking lot.
So I think this is something I'd given you a little bit of information ahead of time to read through, that they do have a request that there are some repairs or upgrades to their parking lot that they would like the board to consider paying for. I don't know the complete scope of the work. I mean, you guys know as much about it as I do, but if there's any questions that you may have, I'll do my best to answer them at this time. Then probably what needs to happen is they have invited me to one of their council meetings. That if you have questions for them, probably tell me what you want to ask them, and I'll be prepared to go to that and come back at a later meeting with more information.
So reading through the emails, is it correct that they have never asked us to share in the expenses the way the contract originally stated?
That's correct. So my understanding, there was just a verbal agreement when the middle school was expanded that they were going to allow us to use the parking lot and that we would share in the expenses with them. And that's what they indicate in their email to me. And that, as you saw in my responses, I did want clarification on that. Was it a matter of the board or the district had refused to pay? And it simply was they've never asked you to pay for anything when it came up. So just weren't made aware of when there were opportunities for you to fulfill that verbal agreement. Weren't given that opportunity.
I would echo support for some of the commentary in the notes that, like, I think it is in our best interest to do the right thing, but I'm on the auditing, check all our things by our auditing standards. So seeing where the survey is, seeing where the city easement is, making sure we have the needs assessment. We might have to rebid out things to meet our bidding guidelines, because I know we have to publish it on certain websites for a certain length of time and make that available. So I'm very interested in doing the right thing, but I want to make sure, especially this time around, that we get kind of all of our documentary ducks in a row. So, and make sure
what we had discussed too in our agenda meeting is going along those lines. So I think if he attends one of their meetings and then gets that kind of information for us, I think is probably the best way to go. I feel too that we should get our own estimates too.
Yeah.
And just kind of go from there. It's not that we don't want to, it's just, we need to make sure that we
have guidelines that we have to follow where they, don't have to. So,
Or just a different set.
Right.
We have state and federal funds, and especially if there's a city easement in the mix too.
Yeah.
Right.
If we need to have some sort of discussion with the city as well, like just making sure we've got all the right things. And then going forward, I would be highly interested in pursuing some sort of a written agreement going for after the repair for a use agreement versus having a verbal agreement. That way, 20 years from now,
we're not
right.
The next school board and the next church council aren't like, hey, you remember back when what we decided?
Well,
so
just putting Band-Aids on it until it gets to the point now that they're asking us to cover the whole cost when we could have been,
helping cover that
little bit
cost.
more
hey, you're
proactive.
paying for snow. The school's paying for snow removal. The church has been paying for this sort of repair.
Right.
Hey, it's a problem that
So yeah. I think, do you know when their next meeting is?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I'll reach out to them and find out. Are there any specific questions you want me to ask or information you want me to gain from them?
I think it's just documentation gathering, especially if there's some sort of a needs assessment that was performed, because I know we've done that. When we did the Roosevelt Elementary roof, we had somebody come in and tell us where the weaknesses were, and that give an estimate of what it was going to cost before we put it out for bid. So if they have that kind of documentation, I also think probably it's in the best interest of the church, the school, and the city to know exactly where all the property and easement lines are in that parking lot, just so we're all square there.
Do they only have one bid for that lot?
No, I was just told that was their cheapest bid.
Okay. Yeah, but I know we have advertising requirements and all that good stuff for that size. I don't want Adams Brown to come back next year and
It was nice of you guys to help the church out, but
Church would not appreciate
so don't be messing with that.
yeah. No, so I think and just express like a willingness to figure out what we need to do, but make sure that it's all orderly, documentation wise.
And I would probably even ask them, I know she had mentioned that they didn't have all of the funds in there, but are they willing to, put some money towards that as well, since they haven't asked us for help in the past? So that it doesn't all fall on one or the other.
And then I agree with Julie, like having a something in written,
Oh,
like
absolutely.
when it needs repairs, then it's a 50-50 type of, you know,
Or
or whatever that
2/3,
is.
1/3, or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. But that way we have that going forward.
And if we need to have a couple representatives of the board and a couple representatives of church council, form a working group to put that together,
Absolutely.
like, totally willing to come to the table.
Yeah.
And
No, that sounds good. So, anything else on that?
Nope.
I feel like you got enough direction.
Yeah, and I'll get with them and see when their next meetings are, and I'll
Perfect.
make it a point to attend, and depending on when that is, if it'll be timely enough to come back in the March meeting for additional conversation, I will, and if it's not, then it'll be the April,
Okay.
but I'll reach out to them this week.
Sounds good.
We would probably have to look at a timeline of summer anyway, wouldn't we? Because of activities and stuff, or I guess.
well, and that cafeteria gets really used in June for summer meals too. So
Yeah.
like, have to figure out.
They could come in the other doors though, take the sidewalk if need be. I mean, at least there's other entrances that they could
Very
take
true.
to get into that. So, okay. So, everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. We'll move on to item D, non-resident student applications.
You guys, there's been some applicants, and the principals did their own background checks, and they're bringing those to you for their recommendation.
Okay.
Any, all good?
No
Perfect.
concerns? No? Okay.
Perfect. Excited to have new students.
Right. I move to approve the non-resident student applications.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 6-0. All right. Item 8, reports. Mr. Horn, we'll start with you.
Yep. Okay. So for superintendent's report, the topic I was gonna discuss with you guys tonight is just give you a brief overview of Kansas Teacher Retention Survey. They've done this now. This is the third one of these that Emporia State has put on. They did one in 2021, 2023, and now again in 2025. And we'll just hit some of the highlights. I mean, they surveyed in each of the three of them. They had over 20,000 respondents from teachers across the state of Kansas. So they feel like it's pretty good data, and just providing information where they feel the state of education is going in terms of from the perspective of a teacher. So first, you do have that on there. That you have the summary. The 36-page document is not uploaded, and you're welcome to have access to that. And I will, because we had some teachers who participated in that, I'll send that out to the staff after tonight. But so some of the things in their summary, they talked about overall statewide trends. They're showing that indicated that teacher engagement in comparison to 2023 has increased and improved very little, but just a little bit, 3% more over compared to 2023, where the disengagement has decreased. So they were indicating that it seems ever so slightly from the last time they did the survey to now, there's a little better satisfaction based on the data that was collected from the teachers. And then they indicated that retention risk of staff or teachers leaving the profession has also declined a little bit since the 2023 survey. So those are something that they would indicate seems to be moving in a positive direction. The next category, who's most likely to leave, if you're looking at the document, it does indicate, and teachers that are in years 4 through 11 seem to be the highest category that ends up making a decision to move to a different career or a different profession. And then, of course, some other factors, if they're teachers that are working second jobs, have worked in multiple districts and have moved around, tend to be some of those individuals that run the greatest risk of not being in the as a teacher, remaining as a teacher in the future. So those are some of the things as far as the why, most likely who's going to be leaving. The next thing that they summarized was the strengths to maintain. So some of the positive things that teachers indicated were strong relationships with the other people in the building, their colleagues, positive relationships with their principals. They described that as one of the strongest factors keeping them involved and engaged in the profession. high principal quality and communication, positive perception of district size and location. So that is going to be, and I know from the last time in 2023 when I presented this, my previous school, location had a lot to do with satisfaction for teachers in the industry. And another thing that was a major contributing factor, whether or not they stayed engaged or stayed in the industry, was the positive perception or a lack of positive perception within the community of a school or teachers in general. So those are still strengths that, as long as they have a positive perception of the district and they're in the right location, tends to keep them drawn to their profession. And then there's some other things there. Obviously, access to quality teacher technology. Technology, although the state is now having additional conversations about how much we use technology, technology continues to be important from the teacher's perspective, having high quality technology accessible by them. Persistent and urgent challenges. So probably the biggest challenge, and within the statistical data they provided, is student behavior and school safety were at the top of what is causing challenges and causing problems for teachers that ends up making them want to leave the district. Those two ranked right at the top, which may not be a surprise to some of us, but that single category ranked the highest in the survey. Other things that were challenges: teacher workload, mental and emotional health strain, salaries, compensation, public respect for teaching. When they feel there isn't there's a lack of respect for the school or teaching, tends to push teachers to be looking for a different profession. And variable leadership and trust at the district and board levels. The next category, what most impacts engagement and retention. These are the things that really help keep them here in schools and society's view of teaching profession. When that respect isn't there, or there's the view that it's maybe not what they feel would be appropriate or what a teacher would think people would want in their education, it just tends to give them a sour taste in their mouth, and that's one of those things that pushes teachers out of the profession. Again, student behaviors, handling challenging behaviors, district attention to teacher mental and emotional health, again, salaries and other financial concerns such as health insurance, and that's going to be one of the final points on the back. And then what's the vision of the leadership? Those are all things that contribute to a teacher's satisfaction within their, at least the way I read it in the statistical data, their satisfaction with their current job and their position and as a teacher. And then some of the final things, what Kansas educators, they do remain, they're purpose-driven and committed, is what the survey has said, supported by strong principals and colleagues, and they're more engagement compared to 2023. But they're also more emotionally strained, financially pressured, frustrated with behavior systems, concerned about public respect, and unsure meaningful action will occur. So it was a very large document, and it had some statistical data, but they put this together as their summary to help give you a better idea of what's going on without having to dig through everything. But ultimately, these were this was the information that they provided that shows what the state of education is from the perspective of a teacher in regards to their profession. Any questions?
For the drivers, were those ranked, or
they weren't necessarily ranked. They had some numerical values. I will tell you, generally, if they appeared on this list, they used on the statistical data, they were at the top with the bigger numbers. So primarily they are ranked, but they never put a ranking. They just put their value, their statistical data value to it. So.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing.
Legislative. Sorry, did you say something, Julie?
Nope. We're good.
Okay.
Okay, legislative. So every Friday, I start getting legislative updates because they're in session now in Topeka, and I start getting updates on Thursday with Dr. Watson's weekly Zoom. And then on Friday, I get a KSB update. And then there's another organization that we're a member of, Kansas Association of Rural Educators. They also put out an update every Friday. So this wasn't uploaded to your guys' site until today because I needed to wait to get this till Friday. But so we're constantly getting updates on a weekly basis. And some of the things that both groups talked about are on my report. The first one, House Bill 2486. It's called the Toilet Training Bill. They're discussing the fact that students would not be allowed to come to kindergarten unless they're toilet trained. KSB opposes that. Not that they necessarily disagree with that. They just don't know that it needs to be in law. That might be an overstep of local control. So they're not currently in support of that. And you need to understand that is not passed. This is just currently being discussed at this time. Questions on that one?
I just say thank you. I know our preschool and TK classrooms transition work pretty heavily in that. So, but this would apply to kindergarten and above, not anything below.
This is kindergarten.
Perfect.
Kindergarten. The second bill that they talked about, which will probably continue to be a topic of discussion, is Senate Bill 387, income verification for free and reduced status. Right now, at the beginning of school year, families will fill out the income verification form to determine if they're going to qualify for free and reduced meal status. Again, the reason KSB opposes this is because what they're ultimately discussing is right now for our at-risk funding that we get from the state, which all schools need to be able to do what they need to do for their at-risk students, is based off of free and reduced applications. And there are some legislators are indicating in some post-audit surveys and studies that have been done that between 51 and 70% of families who qualify for that don't actually qualify for that. And they're indicating that because this isn't new. Since I have been even in administration as a principal, they've been looking for ways to cut at-risk funding to schools. So they're trying to find ways, from my understanding, they're trying to find ways to say, well, we're not needing as much at-risk funding as we actually have, that we're actually giving based off of free and reduced. Now, the people out there sitting there, we know in schools that there's many more factors that qualify students into at-risk than just free and reduced, just income. And in fact, there's more students in Kansas who are considered at risk than actually qualify. So the KSB really feels like they're under-identifying the amount of students that actually qualify for at risk. So it is kind of a hot topic because they are trying to, at least the committee that's working on it, they're really pushing for, well, we're overqualifying and not as many kids need at-risk funding as what we're giving. And one thing that I have heard too, that when it comes to at-risk funding, they will also indicate there are schools out there who are not using the funds appropriately. And the big one that does come up is there must have been a school somewhere who decided to pay for a football turf with at-risk funding. You know, I'm sure if you want to really argue that, well, students who are at risk of being on grade level play football too, well, that's probably the case, but probably not what was the intent for the use of the funding. So we hear that come up all the time. Well, maybe schools are misusing it, and maybe you need to address the schools that are misusing their funding, not try to take it away from everybody else. So there is a list there of the different criteria for at-risk, and I'm not going to go through each one of those, but this is probably one of the major topics they're discussing is that particular one, because if it were to get through, it would significantly impact funding for us as well as everybody across the state. Questions on that one? Okay. The Education Committee has been currently working on their budget recommendations. They're going to continue. They're going to recommend to fund according to state law, which is our FTE, our full-time equivalent number, plus an increase based on the consumer price index. They're going to make that continued recommendation that they follow state law and do that. You'll see there's no recommendations currently for increase to special education funding, which most of you are already aware that they're underfunding that. However, they did indicate that the K-12 Budget Committee is expected to be working on that aspect of it. So even though the Education Committee isn't necessarily making a recommendation for SPED funding increase, K-12 Budget Committee is working on that piece. So they didn't want to alarm people when they hear, well, they're not going to make any recommendations for increase to SPED. It's just a different committee report. Okay. And then one final bill that is being discussed that would be put in place provisions requiring multi-occupancy restrooms in public buildings can only be used by individuals of one sex. So depending on what business that is, and it could be us, if this were to pass, some bathrooms might have to be either remodeled or relabeled, or we might have to put in different bathrooms. So there could be something there that we have to deal with if this were to go through. So again, it's still being discussed and nothing's set in stone yet. But questions on that?
I think most of our buildings have a single occupancy restroom in the nurse's station, correct?
I think, but I'd have to check. Maybe
I
not
think everywhere but
the
the,
older
yeah,
buildings. I'm not sure.
high school would be the only one. Does high school have a single occupancy bathroom?
We have one that's like off the nurse's office. I don't think it's in the nurse's. It might be. I can't remember, but I know that there's one like either right off of it or in it.
Which building?
High school.
Yeah, I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's also, aren't the bathrooms by the gym single?
No,
There are two
they're two
stalls.
stalls.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but yeah, everybody else has a single occupancy bathroom.
Okay.
Any other questions about that? Okay, I guess that's all I have for legislative report.
Okay, we'll move on to item C, principal report. Mr. Flower.
Good evening, everyone.
And we have a copy of it too, I think. in
Yes,
our
I went ahead and
possession.
gave it to him just that way you guys would have it as
Thank you.
well.
Thank you.
One, thank you, Jesse, for your help this weekend. You know, big tournament, lots of fun.
Ask me back, but
I will ask you back for next year now. You did awesome. I had zero complaints about any of our mats.
Katarina said time tapping was the best job ever, so he was
Perfect.
super
See?
excited.
It's so much fun to work a wrestling tournament,
One thing
especially when it's full.
once I got used to the computer, it wasn't bad. But like those first hour, I was a little stressed.
Well, so to begin, wrestling has currently attended 2 meets, Nickerson and Hoisington. They did miss out on one at Larned due to the weather, but they've had a lot of great success. Combined male and female, we're at 101 wins and 74 losses, so we're currently winning. Several of our wrestlers have recorded outstanding performances, including Lanaya Johnson, Trayton Halende, Paisley Powell, Derek Daniels, Maya Brewer, and Charlie Pribble, who all have 7 or 6 wins each. In a very young season. They will continue that season this week as we head off to Waukene on Thursday. Overall, the team has showed continued growth, competitiveness, and commitment. The coaches, on top of that, the way they made sure that building got cleaned up at the end of the tournament, phenomenal job by them. I can't applaud our coaches any better than I'm trying to. Scholars Bowl. Our Scholars Bowl team is off to another outstanding start as well. They've attended 2 meets as well. First one was in Great Bend, where they both 7th and 8th grade took 2nd place. That was in an A and B meet, whereas we played our 7th and 8th grade as per normal. And so they stood with the entire WAC conference and stood up with all those 5 and 6A schools. So proud of our kids. On top of that, they went off to Liberty and came out with championship for both 7th and 8th grade. So congratulations to them and to our 2 coaches who are proud to have a class time this year that they get to work with them and make sure we're ready and a little more competitive. So good for them and all their effort. Robotics team has faced an early weather-related setback. We've lost 1 meet due to that, but they're focused and motivated and they're ready to get going this weekend as they head to Goddard. Sounds like we're going to have right around 46 students between the elementary and the middle school rolling to Goddard intermediate school. I can't remember what the Challenger, I think, and see if we can get somebody qualified for state. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And then next week, we're going to continue that by going to Garden City. And just so everybody knows, we have 54 students involved in it total. So just a lot of kids. That's the capacity of our biggest bus. So very, very excited about our numbers and going to compete at these places. Band, they headed off to Washburn last Friday, very early in the morning. Our students committed to a 4 a.m. leave time to go to Washburn, work with students from all over the state in an honor band, performed there at Washburn University, and then didn't get back until after 8 o'clock at night. So, you know, Miss Bowers and what she's trying to do with growing our program and making sure our kids are getting these experiences, I can't say enough about her. Same with vocal. Miss Lewis took our students from our middle school to Real Men Sing. We had more than 30 students participate. And now they both will be getting ready for our spring concert and spring contest for the CKL. Concert will be March 9th and contest will be March 10th. So please make your way to see that. And they put on another great performance. I did supply a second item for you guys tonight about gate admission. The middle school events generated a strong positive gate revenue across the fall and winter seasons. A total of the 7 events that were permitted over the last 2 years. This year we brought in approximately $4,100 in positive gate proceeds that helped pay for all other events and will cover the entire spring seasons. So very, very excited about how that went. Just to give a little insight though, most of that has came just from this weekend at the wrestling tournament. For those who didn't make it out, the parking lot was absolutely stuffed. There was standing room only, and we're already, Mr. Mooney, myself, and Ms. Schmutz are already working on how can we improve this tournament for next year to make sure seating is a little better and everything. Because getting rid of teams isn't necessarily what we want to do, because you can't predict middle school participation. But we want to make sure we're given a positive environment in that parents can get a seat and watch their kids as well. So very, very excited about how that is ran for us this year and how it's going to help the remainder of the school year. And then I want to thank you guys for allowing me this spring to go to the KIAAA conference. That is the Administrators Conference for Activities Directors. It's where we do a lot of, professional development along with co-working with other activities directors, and we talk about proposed changes to CASHA. So a lot of great opportunities presented, and I appreciate that. Any questions for me?
I would just applaud working the Scholars Bowl intervention into the school schedule, and then also thank you for the work to make sure that the Scholars Bowl's kids in wrestling have been able to have a good schedule together. So I know that took extra scheduling. So
that's always my goal, is to make sure they can get as many opportunities to compete and show their talents, whether it be on a mat, a court, in a classroom with a buzzer. It doesn't matter. It's about what kids get to do. It's experiences.
Saturday was my first time to ever work a wrestling meet, and you guys do a really good job. It was very boom, 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 boom. Like, we didn't have to worry about anything. There wasn't any issues. It was, so good job getting all of that lined out.
Well, I appreciate it. I will pass most of that on to Mr. Mooney.
Yeah.
If you have a good tournament director, a tournament runs.
Yeah.
Ms. Schmutz and I, as long as we're walking around doing our job, keeping everybody else safe and keeping crowd control, everything else flows because of your tournament director. So all applauds go to him. I can't say enough about how much I appreciate him.
Yeah, no, he does a good job. My computer quit at one point.
Oh no.
And all he did was look over, and Carrie's coming.
Absolutely.
And Stephanie, great job announcing too. So.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
The only concern I had, a note I might have on the wrestling tournament, is I don't know how the rec commission would feel about everybody who set up chairs on the track. Because I don't know the surface of the walking track up at the top of that.
So as of now, this is my 4th time with it. We haven't had them complain about it yet.
Okay, good.
So in the past, they've allowed them to do it as long as we don't mess with the trash cans, because the trash cans by law do have to be attached to the rails. A couple families apparently tried to move them, so we immediately removed the trash can and said, we're going to have to protect our policies.
I've been to a lot of tournaments there, middle school, high school. There's always chairs.
Yeah,
There's
always same thing.
Everywhere you go.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I just wasn't sure if that
That's
was
the
something.
beauty of our setup is because you can be up top and over the top.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like us and Pratt and the ones where you
And you can really
you
see
can be
any
up
mat,
top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice. I like our setup.
I would agree.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
So item 9.
Yep.
How much time?
I'd say start with 20.
Okay. So 30? We'll go 30.
30.
Yes, it always takes longer. I move we go into executive session for 30 minutes pursuant to discussing non-elected personnel under the KOMA exception for the purpose of discussing nominations and resignations with Mr. Horn present. The open meeting will resume in the boardroom at, say, 8:05.
Second.
And we'll call principals in
Oh,
as
yeah,
needed.
and principals called in as requested. Okay. All right, and it's been seconded, all in favor? That's a 6-0. Okay, coming out of executive session with the following motions. I move to approve the resignation of Lauren Euros as assistant high school volleyball coach.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor? Passes 6-0. Nominations. I move to approve the nomination of Jeremy Bright as 5th grade teacher. And that's for next school year?
Yeah.
No, yeah, next school year. And then Shelley Hanslick as title reading teacher.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 6-0. Next item is consideration of positions. Mr. Flowers, if you would like to have a few minutes to discuss.
Absolutely. I don't know where to begin, honestly. I sent you guys a lot of information through Mr. Horn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very passionate about this district. In the last 4 years, I've had 2 daughters diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and this district stood by my side very heavily. I enjoy what I do. I'm very passionate about athletics and activities. I'm very passionate about student experience. And I do as much as I can for anybody in any time. You know, if Shelby asks me to come do something at her building, it's always a jump and I go do it. If Carissa asks, I do it. When it was time to cover for her first leave for a child, I went over there for 4 months and took care of everything. I do anything I'm asked of in this district, and then add in the 69 events I go to a year and the countless hours in a car and time away from my family. I'm very passionate about what I can do for this district, and seeing that this position would even be considered to be gone. One, I fear student safety because who's going to be there? And two, I'm concerned about burnout of other administrators or staff members, because it is a lot more duties to put onto somebody else. I understand the budget is tight, and I get that. I don't envy you guys for having to figure that out. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm passionate about this place, and I want to see it be the best we can. And I want the people who I'm working with, who honestly are amazing. I mean, I can't speak positive enough about Craig Fletchall and our wonderful principals in this district. But to put more on them, I fear what that'll do and what it could possibly lead to. So whether it's me or somebody else, I emphatically believe you need this position. One of the comments I heard over and over from coaches over the last 4 years has been middle school sports is no longer a back burner item. When you have an AD who has to do all of it, the middle school gets put on the back burner. I hear it from my cohorts in Heston, Halstead, Larned, Smoky Valley. I hear it from all of them. So the fact that you guys created this position, it was a positive creation, and I hate to see it disappear. I'll take any questions you guys might have for me. Glad to tell you about anything within that position or what I do, I suppose.
I just say thank you for your work and thank you for the information and details that you sent over to the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for
Appreciate
that.
it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Anybody have anything they want to add or say? No? Neil, you're thinking over there.
Nope, I don't think I have anything to add. Certainly appreciate your perspective, Mr. Flowers.
I know this isn't an easy decision, doesn't come lightly by any means. But at this point, I think we've made the decision I'm going to make the motion to eliminate the assistant middle school and elementary school principal and AD position at the end of the 26-27 school year, or whenever it is vacated, whichever comes first. No second? Okay, and I guess it's dead in the water. I didn't get a second, so.
Didn't get a second, so
Nope.
there's no
All
motion.
right. We will move on. Administrator contract extensions. So do I do all?
You can still do it the way it's said at this time.
Okay. I move to extend the 2-year contracts of the following administrators: Shelby Walker, Carissa Cowan, Catherine Schmitz, Joel Mason, Craig Fletchall, and Trenton Horn.
I second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 6-0. Okay, and now we need to, I move to go into executive session for 15 minutes pursuant to discuss the exception for employer-employee negotiations under KOMA, to discuss negotiations training and negotiations letter information with Mr. Horn present. I need a second.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm like, hello.
It was on the next page. We hadn't flipped pages.
All right, the open meeting will resume at 9:20.
You seconded it. Yeah,
I'll second it. Jesse.
all on the paper is wrong. So.
I was thinking
Everybody's
about other
looking at
things,
me
sorry.
like I'm.
Okay.
You didn't give the time first. If you would have done the sign and then you the last page every time. I'm confused.
Oh, I missed that part. Sorry, my bad. Okay. Coming out of executive session with no motion as far as that, so I move to adjourn.
Second.
Then moved in second, and all in favor. Passes 6-0. Thank you, everybody. You need these.
Thanks, everybody.